president of CUE was Jenifer Bungert. During her term as president, Jenny worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Ames, Iowa. Jenny served from 2000 to 2002.
Some friends of mine, people that I work with, were starting a few chapter. And they were looking for their 15 people. So I went to the meeting where they were chartering, and the person who was supposed to be the charter chapter secretary backed out on them. So they needed somebody at the last minute, and that's how I got started. They just wanted somebody's name on the line, and there I was. So I was secretary for 1 year, and then I became the president, and it's been on from there. When I came into office, we had considerable financial problems. There were a couple of NTPs that didn't perform as well as we had hoped. There was various decisions that were made that in hindsight might have been better made a different direction. So we were considerably in the red, and we had a lot of work to do. We'd had to close the national office. We didn't have any staff. The whole time I was in office, we had no staff. So I did all my own clerical work, and we just balanced everything between the officers as much as we could. And our effort was to put the organization back together, but to make it better, not to go back to where we were and recreate it the way it was, but to make it the organization we needed it to be for the 21st century. We could have gone back to having our own staff rather than looking at the association management company way of running business. And so we were looking for different ways to bring us forward and do that all at the same time, getting the creditors paid off and getting all of that done. So that's what we faced coming into office. So we told everybody that was elected or taking an appointment that year that they needed to plan to fund all of their own travel. And maybe there would be money for supplies, maybe there wouldn't. They would probably have to pay for their own phone calls. All of that stuff would be out of their pocket, and they needed to be ready to make that kind of commitment. And if they were committed to the organization, then we were ready to go forward. And fortunately, we got 100% participation in that. People were committed and willing, and we had no one turn down a position because of that financial encumbrance. And as it turns out, we recovered more quickly than we could have. We did smart things and used the money where we needed it the most, instead of opening the national office up right again and that sort of thing. But we ended up not having to tax them so much for their own expenses. But because we had a group of people who were that committed to the organization and to their job, we recovered very quickly. They were very committed to the organization and were willing to do whatever it took. So it was really, it was a good time. It was a difficult time, but it was a very good time. It was a good time for the organization. We went out and asked a lot of questions about what the organization needed to be for the changing federal workplace. One of the things I wanted to do was to have training that was just for the board and for the executive committee when we had our meetings. So we added a component there, and it meant people had to come in early and spend a little more time than they normally would have. But we got to know each other better and had a good time doing that. And we also got to know more of the responsibilities of a nonprofit board. We talked about strategic planning. We brainstormed about the future. We learned about financial responsibilities of a nonprofit board. We did all those things, and we always had time to just to enjoy together. We came here to this hotel in Chicago for a meeting so we could experience the hotel, and we had a good time here, in addition to working a lot. And Pat Frank did the Who Moved My Cheese training for us, and that was a good way to start off our 2 years. And we worked together, and I think we enjoyed working together. We went to Nashville, and some of us went to the Grand Ole Opry and that sort of thing, but we really enjoyed being together and working together and contributing, and a lot of the traditional roles melded together, and when someone didn't have enough time or the skills or the time or whatever they needed to do a task, there was always someone to pitch in and help, and they worked together, and everybody gets to share in the accomplishments. So it was a good time. I was in a meeting not long ago, and there were some young people there and there were someone who has never met with few people ever before, a young person. And then there were those of us who've been around few a long time, who were older people, 20, 25, 30 years older than she was. And she was not intimidated by us, and she gave ideas, and the ideas that she gave us were things we had never thought of. And you don't have to have been here long. We need all those ideas. They're really good at they don't know what we expect, so they can't just give us what we expect. They give us the real stuff, and that's really exciting. It's really exciting. That's one of the things we're looking forward to with the 2004 NTP, is trying to find the focus that will bring in the younger people.